Hello everyone. This week we're going to be going over the two homework assignments that you're going to be doing your Edgenuity on this week. Couple of announcements. The first thing is if you know someone who has not been completing their work, have them email me as soon as possible. That matches the next bullet, which is that online progress reports will be available soon. Instructions on accessing the reports will be on Teams and Edmodo. I'll post them there. You guys will be able to access it through your student portal. And the last thing is homework for this week is going to focus on making two-way tables and interpreting two-way tables on Edgenuity. Now we kind of went over the two-way tables a little while, I think maybe not this past video, but the video before, or maybe last week's video. And now we're going to focus more on using, I used the textbook in the last video. This week I'm actually going to be using some handouts that are directly from the Edgenuity website, right? Might make the assignment a little bit easier. So our lesson question is, how can you represent data that relates to two different categories? Well, considering that we are doing two-way tables, that's probably going to be the answer to that question. So let's go through the lesson goals. The first one says determine variables in two variable scenarios. Assign, and we're going to fill in the blank, right, with variables. Assign variables to a two-way table and create a two-way table. So the guided notes do include a little warm-up. You know, they basically give you answers for each right before, right? Two-way table, determine variables. Okay, so it just gives you a little bit of vocabulary. Now, words to know. A two-way table is a type of table used to represent bivariate data. Now remember, we had this word in our vocabulary, bi meaning two, so that would be a two-way table. A category, we should all know a category. It's a group or class with similar characteristics. To construct, right? If we're going to build something, to build or form something by combining parts. And to assign, I'm assigning you work. It is giving you to give or transfer to another. Okay? So that's the easy part, right? Now we're going to actually go into the two-way table. So a two-way table is a table in which the rows represent categories, right? We know categories when we do our Jeopardy games, right? Every column of questions is listed by a category. Categories for a variable, and the columns represent categories for a what? It's actually just for another variable. For another variable. Or for a second variable. I think second is a better word to use. For a second variable. Right? Two-way, 2-second. So totals are also given for each row and column respectively. So we have here, and actually we see the fill in the blank, we can see right here. So we have the first variable, types of fruit, and the second is condition, right? Healthy and rotten, apples and oranges. Totals on a two-way table. This two-way table shows the number of healthy and rotten apples and oranges. Complete the two-way table. So if we remember when I did these in the other YouTube video, all I'm going to do is I'm going to add down for this total here. I'm going to add down for this total here. For this one, I'm actually going to be, let's see another color, adding, for this total, I'm going to be adding these two. And for this total, I'm adding these two, right? So 6 plus 11, I can work this out on the side. 6 plus 1 is 7. I bring down the 1. So 17. And then 5 plus 3, which is just 8. And then I'm going to do 6 plus 3, which is 9. And 11 plus 5, that's going to be 16, right? Now for this final total, right here, it's going to be the same whichever two I choose to use. I'm going to use 9 and 16, okay? So I'm going to do 16 plus 9, So 9 plus 6 is 15. I bring down the 5, carry the 1. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 1 more, and that gives me 11. So 115. Now just to check, I'm going to do over here on the side 17 plus 8. 8 plus 7 is also 15. Carry the 1. 8, and I multiplied actually. It's actually just going to be 25. Right? Always make sure you know what you're using for your operation, right? So 1 plus 1 is 2. So it's still 25, right? 25 and 25. So that's how I calculate my totals. Okay? Now the next one says, a real-world connection. The student council at Ryan's school voted on a dinner menu for their honors banquet. 83 students voted for meat in their dinner, and 20 of those voted wanted lasagna. So we can see 20 of them voted for meat and lasagna. 12 students voted for a meatless burrito, and 5 students wanted a vegetarian lasagna. So remember, vegetarian would just be no meat. So if it's a vegetarian lasagna, it's a lasagna and no meat, and a meatless burrito, burrito and no meat. Complete the two-way table. So now this is where it comes in that I got to do, a little extra. So I'm going to find this total first by adding 20 plus 5, because that's an easy one to do. That's going to give me 25. I'm going to do all my addition first, because to me that makes things a lot easier, right? So 12 plus 5, it's 7, so 17. Okay, and I have one more addition to do. Let's pick green. Is this one, where I'm going to add these two. So 83 plus 17. Okay, so 7, 10, carry the 1, 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 1 more, 10. So 100. So in total, they surveyed 100 students. Now, I'm going to need to do some subtraction, right? Because I need to find these two middle ones. So to find this one, right, this is actually going to be my easier one to find first. I'm going to subtract 83 minus 20. Now remember, this is really 20. This setup is 20 plus some number, so we'll put B for burrito, is going to equal 83. Okay, now if I wanted to do that, I have to subtract the 20 so that I can get, the same thing that I wrote over here. So 3 minus 0 is still 3, and 8 minus 2 is 6. So 63. Now I actually don't have to do any more subtraction, because now to find this little box over here, it is a total. So I can just go ahead and add 63 plus 12. That's going to give me 5. 6 plus 1 is 7. 75. Now 75 plus 25, if we remember our money, right? 75 cents plus one more quarter is going to give me $1. So 75 plus 25 is going to give me 100. Okay? And that's, we already kind of touched bases with it. So now the next thing. A local bookstore sells movies as well as books. The store carries 1,000 items in all. 3/4 of the items are new and used books. The rest are new and used movies. 560 of the books are new and 50 of the movies are used. How can labels be assigned to a two-way table for this data? So, this question, right, everything that it says before does not matter. It's just saying, how can labels be assigned to a two-way table for this data? So what's important is that the blank of the data are kept separate and that each of them represents either blank or columns. So the one that matches with columns we can say is rows. So now what's important is that the blank of the data are kept separate. So the types, right? If I'm looking at books and movies, right, look at our possible labels. Books and movies are going to stay next to each other. New and used stay together, right? If you go on Amazon and you go to buy a book or something, it'll tell you new or used, right? It's not going to tell you, here's a book, but here's the movie version if you want that instead, right? It's going to tell you new or used. And the same thing with movies. The not possible labels, it shows books next to new and movies next to you. That doesn't really work, right? Like I said, there's no connection between these two. And also, you can't have a new used item, right? It's either going to be used or it's going to be brand new. So you have to make sure that the types of data are kept separate. Now it comes to filling in a table, okay? So a local bookstore sells movies as well as books. We already read all that. Again, I'm going to just highlight, actually, 1,000 items. 3/4 are new and used books. The rest are new and used movies. 560 books are new. 50 of the movies are used. So I have to include if they're new or used in two-way tables, right? Normally I just tell you look for the numbers, but in this case I have to look for which ones they land in. So first off, it says the store carries 1,000 items in all, meaning that's my total, right? 1,000. Now, 3/4, I'm going to leave that behind, right? Because we know that 3/4 is going to be a fraction. So I'm going to put a pin on that one. I'm going to come back to that. The rest are new and used movies. 560 of the books are new. So I can come over to books, new, and write 560. And 50 of the movies are used. So I'm going to put a 50 right there. Now, I need to deal with this 3/4, right? So I have 1,000. Now there's two ways you can do this. We can just do 3/4 times 1,000 over 1. Remember, it's always over 1. And I can go ahead and multiply. That's going to give me 3,000 divided by 4, which is actually going to equal 750, right? So that's my total. This is option 1. If you are looking for a shortcut, then option 2 is the one for you. So option 2, now I have 1,000, right? I have 1,000 and I'm looking for 3/4. Now 3/4, remember I told you guys should always remember 3/4 because you need 4/4 to make $1. If you have 3/4, you have 75 cents, right? So if I were to just ignore this 0 for a second, right? I have to remember that it's still there, but I'm going to forget about it for a moment. Now I have 100. 3/4 of 100 is 75. Now I have to remember that 0, and if I have an extra 0 over here, I'm going to put an extra 0 right there. Right? So that's remembering our quarters. You can do that. But you can always stay true with option 1, right? It's going to give you the same answer. You know, maybe it's a little bit more time consuming, but if you know you're going to get it right doing it that way, just do it that way, okay? Don't try to do a shortcut if you're not 100% on it. All right? So now I'm going to erase option 2 so I have a little bit more space to write. So now going back, I'm going to look for, let's see. Now all my options are just going to be subtraction for right now. So I'm going to look for this one first. Right? And I'm going to do 750 minus 560. So 0 minus 0 is still 0. Now I'm going to have to borrow here. That gives me 15. So 15 minus 6 is actually going to just be 9. And then 6 minus 5 is 1. That gives me 190. Now, if I ever want to check, and I'm actually just going to add a blank page right after this, just for my little scrap notes. So 560 plus 190, and it should give me 750. Remember, 750 is my goal. So 6 plus 9 is 15. 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. So 750, right? So that one checks out. Now my next is, I'm going to actually do some addition, right? Because I want to make my life a little easier. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to solve for this box. So I'm going to do 190 plus 50. So again, 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 5 is 14. So 240. Right? Now all that's left is for me to do some kind of subtraction. So I'm going to first focus on this box right here. Right? So that one, I'm going to actually have to move over to my extra sheet and do 1,000 minus 240. So 0 and 0. Now I have to borrow, right? Because there was nothing there. So then this 10 now has to become a 9. And this is now the 10. So 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 2 is 7. And 0 is just 0. So 760. Now if I want to check, right, 760 plus 240 should add up to 1,000. That's my goal. So 6 plus 4 is 10. 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. So that one checks out. All right. Now I have to fill in some more, do some more subtraction. I'm going to now look at this one right here. And I'm color coordinating all the boxes so you guys can always just, quickly see which one matches which work, right? Nothing is going to be more than just, except for the fraction, everything has been subtraction and addition, okay? So 760 minus 560, right? Yep. So 0 and 0, 6 minus 6 is 0, and 7 minus 5 is 2. So that's going to give me 200, right? Now I've left myself with the easy answer to go right here, right? Because now I'm missing a total, meaning I can just add 200 plus 50, which is just going to be, if we have it here, 200 plus 50, right, is nice and easy, 250. And that is my completed two-way table. Okay, so it's not too much work. You guys just have to know when you're going to do your addition, when you're going to do your subtraction, okay? Now this next one. Making two-way tables for real world problems. I think we already did a couple of real world. So the columns, right? Remember, columns are always up and down. Up and down. And rows go left to right. Right, so my columns going up and down are can swim and can't swim. And my rows are 7, 8, and 9. Okay, now I'm going to fill in the missing values. So there's a couple things I need to do. I'm going to start off with this obvious one, which is right here, filling in this missing piece. So what I need to do, I have two options here. I can either do 500 minus 180 minus 170, right, and do it all together, or the way I would do it is I'm going to add these together first, right? So 180 plus 170, so 8 plus 7 again is 15, 1, 2, 3. That gives me a total of 350. Right, now it's a little easier because I don't have to worry about 3 different numbers. I'm just going to do 500 minus 350. Okay, that's going to give me 0. This is going to become a 4. This is a 10. 10 minus 5 is still 5. 4 minus 3 is 1. So 150. 50. Okay, that is my missing value there. Now I can go ahead, and the easiest one to fill in after that is actually this one, right? Because this is just going to be 150 minus 10. That's easy enough, right? 5 minus 1 is 4, so 140. Okay, let's pick a different color. Now the next one I'm going to do is this one right here. This is also just one number, so it's going to be 170 minus 125. If you guys ever get confused where to draw the line for, whether it's going to be addition or subtraction, think of your total, right? This total line right here is like it can't be passed. This is your equal sign, basically. Okay, so if it's ever a number on the right of that line there, that between the total, that's your equal. Your total is always the answer. Okay, so I need to borrow here. This becomes a 6. This becomes 6. This is 10 now. 10 minus 5, once again, is 5. 6 minus 2 is 4. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So that's just going to be 45. Now the next easiest one to solve is right here, right? More addition. I want to do all the addition because to me those are the easiest and the fastest ones to get through. So 50 plus 45 plus 10. Now I think adding 3 digits is a lot easier than trying to subtract 3, right? So 0 plus 5 plus 0 is just going to be 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. Plus 1 is 10. So 105. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and pick my next one, which I can pick any one I want. We'll do this one right here. That's a little close to the red one. Okay, and I'm going to do 180 minus 50. That is a 50, not a 6. That's going to be a 0. 8 minus 5 is 3, and that's 1. So 130. Okay, now I just have one last box, and that one last box is going to be addition, right? I could do addition or I could do a subtraction. It doesn't matter, right? I can either subtract 500 by 105, or I can just add 130 plus 125 plus 140. So 0 plus 5 is 5, 5 plus 0 is still 5, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 4 is 9, and 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. So 395. Okay, so that's how we fill out this table. Even though it has a third row, right? The other ones only had 2. It's still the same steps, right? In these questions, they're never going to give you, all the tables are going to be solvable. They'll never give you a question that doesn't have enough information that you can't solve. Okay? So, how can you represent data that relates to 2 different categories? By using a two-way table. Now you can use it for, it can be anything, like we've seen, whether books and movies are new and used, or, dinner options for if you're ordering. So like if you guys had your dinner dance, you might have been given the option of, oh, well, what students want what to eat and things like that. So using these two-way tables is very, very convenient. It also helps you when you do scatter plots, right? So that's it for this video, and then come up with any questions. Tomorrow I'm going to do the second part, the interpreting two-way tables, in our Zoom meeting. It is a bit long, so I do need you guys to stay focused, and we will get through it. All right, so happy studying.